All right, everybody. Good afternoon to you. My name is Justin Allen. Of course, I'm in Cool 630 with you guys for Intro to Addiction Counseling. And for this week's discussion board, as we've been chosen to do, I'm going to talk about THC vape usage in Kentucky schools. I teach at a South Central Kentucky High School, Franklin Simpson. It's about 25 minutes outside of Bowling Green. I definitely don't think that my school is out of the is the exception in this case. I'm sure schools across the Commonwealth have dealt with THC vaping, just like our school has. But I thought it'd be valuable to talk about THC vaping. Of course, go through the criteria that was moved for the assignment for the discussion board. Give you some visuals as well, and maybe especially if you work in a high school or plan to work in a high school, middle school as well. We're seeing cases like that with THC vapes as well, but just having some criteria and whatnot to go along with it. All right, then you can just give you some basic facts. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol. It is the psychoactive compound found in cannabis. Throughout the presentation, I'll just use the term cannabis as a description for marijuana and marijuana-like products. Of course, we, even at my high school, have incidences with people smoking marijuana, smoking cannabis. But as we've seen, just like with nicotine vapes, the rise of this. So there's a variety of course names across the slide. You can read them for yourselves. But pins typically are the common one, mostly, and you can see it on the first slide as well as this slide. These cartridge-based vaping devices. They of course heat up that oil, which then turns it into vapor. Of course, the user then breathes in the vapor, and that is how they're getting access to THC. I of course included a slide, a picture, loader on in cannabinoid oils. Some of these pins are refillable, just like nicotine vape pins are. So it's worth noting that you might get like at my high school, for example, when we have to search a student, have to search their belongings, their car, their backpack, where the case may be. We might get the actual pin, the battery, like you can see the cartridge at the top right of the screen. But you also may get the oil canisters. Like I said, some of these are refillable. Okay. As far as consumption, like I said, I'm sure many of us are, even beyond our school environments, are exposed to people who use vapes and use other types of e-cig devices. But of course, it's heating up the THC oil. If you look at that picture right there on the slide, the bigger part of the pin is the battery itself. It's quite a large unit as far as heating up the oil. You can of course see the 320 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when it becomes vapor, and then of course that's when the user breathes in. It can, these pins come in a variety of shapes and sizes. You can see for the first slide, I'll keep showing you through the entire presentation. But of course, there are some reports that using vapor over smoke products typically can get the user higher. Typically, when you're talking about oils, the potency as far as THC to other things like CBD is much higher, so it is possible for the user to become higher quicker, as well as at a much higher level, just because of the vapor product that they're using. Okay. The infograph on this slide came from the Cleveland Clinic on Substance Abuse. So they give you a variety of substances, both short-term and long-term, like we were asked for the assignment. I mostly gave my criteria on the left side of the screen for high school students. What I've seen, for example, in my time as a classroom teacher, altered perception, typically impaired short-term memory. Those are typically the mental influences that I've seen. You, of course, get kind of the cliche symptoms with marijuana usage: red eyes, maybe groggy or sleepy. I've seen that before. Well, of course, long-term impacts, and that's typically where our students don't pay much attention to. There can be like cognitive impairment, especially for our users that are beneath the age of 25. It's highly recommended that they do not use any cannabis products. It's not good for the brain development. Of course, breathing as well as, or using smoke as well as vapor can lead to potential lung damage. And while cannabis itself, as far as its addictive qualities, is questionable, we have seen many of cases where teenagers especially use cannabis and other products as a form of self-medication to deal with things like stress, depression, and other mental disorders and situations that they might be dealing with. Okay. So our next two slides deal with facts for parents as well as facts for counselors. First, facts for parents. You can see up there, and of course I include my references at the end. But Northern Kentucky high schools, especially around like Florence and whatnot, I found their information widely available and easy to use. Say that confiscated vapes, half of those are containing THC. So we are slowly, even at my high school, but I think high schools across the Commonwealth are seeing more and more vapes that are being on students while at school are containing THC instead of just typically nicotine. Disguise tactics on the right side of the screen. These vapes, like I said, come in a variety of shapes and sizes. A lot of them are more the typical pin, like you saw on the second slide, but they can come in a variety of shapes, different sizes. For example, at my school, I've seen one that look like highlighters. They might be flashlights, walkie-talkies, phones, USB drives. They come as, like I said, and you can, like I think we see with nicotine vapes, we can see that there's a direct target audience for teenagers, trying to, whether it's to appear cool or to be sneaky, I guess, around parental figures, school figures, disguising these vapes in a variety of ways. Warning signs, of course, changes behavior, aggravated easily, maybe not responsive as far as typical interests go, maybe changing in terms of academic performance as well as friend groups result as a use of using THC vapes. And of course, on the bottom right side of the screen, just having those discussions. I'm a child of the '90s. I think our discussions with teenagers, especially around shark usage, have changed, and I think in a lot of ways changed for the better. Just being available, being there for your kids, having those discussions, trying to remove shame and judgment out of the discussion. It's okay to be forceful. I think as parents, we want to do that. I'm a parent of two boys. I would like to say that I have, some fatherly advice I want to pass on to them, but making sure that our judgments are put aside for the moment as we help our children. And then, of course, for us wanting to become counselors, making sure that we adhere on the top left to school policy. For example, at my high school, we have drug review boards. Typically, students get a staff member recommendation. They put a staff member on the board that they feel like would best represent their character. But even, and I've served on those boards a variety of times. My job there is, of course, to be there for the student, but also to adhere to school policy, same as vapes. Especially with my school policy, and I've referenced it at the end of the presentation. If you'd like to see a copy of that, I was try to convey that there's a big difference from our school policy as well as federal and state law between a nicotine vape and a THC vape. A nicotine vape at my school, at the minimum, gets you 3 days in ISI. That's our in-school suspension. A THC vape will automatically get you 30 days at our alternative school. Those are vastly different consequences. Of course, they are vastly different substances between cannabis and nicotine. Top right, focus on support. Like I said, we do drug review boards. We should, of course, be there to enforce school policy, but also to provide mentorship, provide useful information. There are a ton of changes, legislative changes that have happened this school year, and even within the last couple of years. But one of those is to offer counseling services, and recommendations for first-time offenders. Mental health awareness, the idea, like I said before, that maybe students are using THC vapes as a form of self-medication for anxiety and depression, and other things as well. And then at the top bottom, just make sure that we are a useful source, beyond counseling. We're there for not just the academic well-being of our students, but also the mental and physical well-being, making sure that we can provide useful information, practitioners, other people around us that can help our students get the support and the love that they need to get through this hard time. Sorry, I my kids. Let's see. Availability and access. I think sadly, like I said before, we are seeing a huge rise in usage of vapes, both nicotine and THC, across our schools in the Commonwealth. I certainly don't add this information to put blame on other states or anything like that. Our state, even itself, has now transitioned towards medical programs for the usage of cannabis in that context. And I'm not here to judge that or anything like that. I am just saying that we do have neighboring states like Ohio and Illinois. We have had multiple instances, even in my school, which is more bordering to Tennessee. We have people who are over the age of 21 who are running to those states, buying products and then coming back to our small communities and selling those. Like I said, I'm not here to judge those states on their usage of those programs. That's their prerogative. But I am saying that is opened up a more convenient market for our teenagers, that if they can get access to someone who's over 21, can go into those states and buying them. Let's see. You'll see there at the bottom, like I said, there's been a lot of legislative, and that includes one for this year, House Bill 11, which forbids the selling of non-FDA approved vapes, which must have sealed cartridges. One thing that this infographic, as well as the next infographic, will teach you about is that many people are modifying nicotine vapes and inserting their own cannabis oil into them. The cannabis oil may be pure, it may not be pure, it may be tainted with a private user. And of course, anything that is tainted and not FDA approved, we should not allow our teenagers, or really anybody, to be putting that substances in their body. That is just not good. And you can really see, for the most part, especially in my infographic, you can see the battery capacity here. That sometimes is short, sometimes it's long. Usually the bigger the battery, the longer it goes. But then, of course, you can see the cannabis oil in the cartridge, and sometimes that, like I said, has been modified. Okay, and then to kind of just wrap up, like I said, I do want to point some legislative policies, also as well as some school policies that I am more accustomed to. Of course, my own high school, but also I would include Jefferson County as far as being our largest public school district in the Commonwealth, and talk about what they're doing as well. So we've already mentioned House Bill 11. Beneath it, Kentucky House Bill 142, which passed last year. Make sure that all school policies across public school districts across Kentucky are updated, not just for nicotine to be vape usage, but also THC vape usage as well. And I will accommodate with that bill as far as making sure that our school districts are aware of a growing substance use issue in THC vapes, making sure that there are consequences as far as trying to get that light on my face. There you go. As far as trying to make sure that our school board, our school policies are up to date. They are aware of current issues, and of course, provide current solutions as well. Knowing that we're not behind the times, we are very well aware of what students may or may not be using as far as substances go. And I think that speaks to the volume of what Kentucky is trying to do as far as drug awareness. I remember very especially early on in my career, although it was not as common as vape usage, we typically saw that in a lot of cases, we had students who were abusing prescription meds, opioids. This typically, I feel like school boards and really the state overall was having a much harder time acknowledging that issue, as well as providing solutions to that issue. As far as going out and beyond and trying to show that our communities, our parents, our families, that we are aware of this issue is something that I think the Commonwealth should do as far as acknowledging these issues. So like I said, I also want to point out some cool policies that I'm more accustomed to, of course, Jefferson County as well. So for instance, in high school where I teach, like I said, we use drug review board policies. Students' possession in our guidelines is an automatic out-of-school suspension for 5 days. Once your drug review board has been met, a parent or guardian must attend with you at that. Like I said before, your minimum sentence is 30 days at West Campus, which is our alternative school. I think this does send a strong message. Obviously, we are trying to disincentivize students from bringing these products onto our school campus, of course, not using them at all. We would love to see that, but we need to, like I said, as counselors, be adhering to our school policies. We want to help every student. I completely understand that, but we have to set the bar somewhere. And I am fond of what my high school has done. I've seen plenty of kids who unfortunately find themselves before a drug review board. They get, I'm not going to say read the riot act or anything like that, but we have hard conversations about why do you feel the need to use these substances? What do you gain out of it? What do you not gain out of it? And I've seen plenty of students have turnaround. I of course have seen, sadly, some students who have not had turnaround, who are multiple repeat offenders, and that is very, very sad. But I would like to say that I have seen more who have turned their lives around, who have not been repeat offenders, that they sought counseling services, they've got additional support and needs of help. Okay. And then, of course, Jefferson County has similar policies. But like I said, they not saying that they have a stronger adherence to the law than my school district, but especially since Jefferson County is just so large, I think they're trying to really ensure that their students have follow-up counseling services, whether those be offered in school or by a private practitioner. Okay. And then prevention and intervention, challenging the threat. Steered Straight by Michael Dulone. He actually came to our school back in, I believe, February of this year. Really powerful speaker. He, he very much lays it out pretty hard for the kids. His focus is a little bit more on, I would say, nicotine vaping, but he does a whole service as far as what his life story is. Has a very big turnaround as far as his own personal life story. I do think that kids found, on that, most kids found comfort in his story as far as what his messaging was. Collaboration between local health departments. I provided the sources in my reference of North Kentucky health departments trying to work with local high schools, Kenton County specifically, and I also mentioned them here. Providing anonymous vape disposal units at schools and on school property. It's trying to remove the stigma of judgment, making sure that kids do feel like they have a way out as far as allowing them to get rid of these products before they feel like they've taken themselves too far. Okay, and then of course there are my references if you're interested to read through them. Like I said, I did include my own school policies as well as Jefferson County's school policies about how they deal with both nicotine as well as THC vaping. But just want to close out with simply just saying that, like I said before at the very beginning, I feel like a lot of school districts are dealing with this problem. Getting your hands on a THC vape, I feel like it's just become more easy, more accessible than ever before. But I think as long as counselors, as well as families, as well as school boards in general, have the same mentality that we want to help our students. We want to give them the means that they don't have to self medicate this way. They don't have to find solace in this way, and that there is a way out. And I think that's the best thing that we can do as future counselors is making our students feel supported, making them feel loved, and it can go from a from a really, really bad spot for a lot of our kids to a really good spot as well. Okay. All right. Like I said, my name is Justin Allen. It's a pleasure to be in class with everybody. I hope this was informative, and I hope you have a good day. Bye bye.